Alrighty, yo, what is going on, everybody? It's your boy, Mr. DDG94 here, back with another reaction video. Today we're going to react to the history of NBA Jam. Without further ado, let's get right into it.
You think of legendary sports franchises, NBA Jam has to be at the top of the list. There has never been such an iconic sports video game than the original arcade version of NBA Jam. The game was not only one of the first NBA video games to feature authentic rosters, teams, and player likenesses, but it popularized the arcade sports genre. Midway, the developer, went on to create similar games for other sports such as the NFL Blitz, MLB Slugfest, and 2-on-2 Open Ice Challenge, an over-the-top hockey game that would eventually turn into NHL Hitz. Without the success of the original, revolutionary NBA Jam, these franchises never would have seen the light of day, and heavily inspired titles such as EA's NFL, NBA, and FIFA Street games, and even today's NBA Playgrounds by 2K, would also likely have never been created. NBA Jam started out as an arcade game that ranged from $1 to $2 to play, which was expensive for an arcade game at the time, yet it became popular enough that it generated over $1 billion in quarters. The game was later ported to consoles, and then newer versions came. After the release of the console ports, however, Acclaim won exclusive rights to developing and publishing the NBA Jam name, and released new games including College Slam, a collegiate version of NBA Jam, and NBA Jam Extreme, although the Acclaim-developed games were not received very well. Midway continued making NBA Jam successors, however they did not include the NBA Jam title. Games such as NBA Hang Time, NBA Showtime, NBA on NBC, NBA Hoops, and NBA Ballers were all technically successors to NBA Jam created by Midway.
No, we will not include NBA Ballers into this. NBA Ballers ain't got nothing to do with NBA Jam. NBA Ballers is its own entity, and it needs its respect as its own entity. That's a 1v1 game. That was revolutionary. NBA Ballers deserves to be in its own realm by itself. Hands down. But I can see what you're saying, because Midway did technically make NBA Ballers, and they also created NBA Jam. But let's put NBA Ballers in their own category.
And were mostly well received. The last game to have the title of NBA Jam was a 2010 EA Sports game, released after EA had bought out Midway's assets after the company filed for liquidation. The EA version of the game was awesome, and is one of my all-time favorite games. Since then, NBA Jam has yet to return in any form, however, but the original arcade version of the game, which most people would agree was the best version of the game, continues to live on through the many video games it inspired. The arcade sports genre was pioneered by Midway's NBA Jam, and for a sports video game, there isn't a single franchise that comes close to having the same type of long-lasting impact. The original NBA Jam had an interesting development. After Midway's Total Carnage arcade release failed expectations, the company wanted to create a game with a wider appeal. Midway had released a basketball game before called Arch Rivals, which was a 2-on-2 basketball game where players could punch opposing players to steal the ball from them. The game also had on-court hazards such as cans and wrappers thrown onto the court, causing the player to fall and lose control of the ball. Midway decided to build upon this game. After the developers messed with the game and showed off unrealistic high-flying dunks, shattered backboards, and over-the-top action, Midway decided to go forward with the game being less about realism and more about having fun. When pitching the idea to the NBA, at first the league was not on board, as they felt an arcade game would be a bad look for the league's branding, but after a second pitch, they agreed to license the league to Midway, and NBA Jam was born. Tim Kitzrow was the original in-game commentator, and his lines have become some of the most iconic in sports. These are all iconic phrases that originated in NBA Jam. To get the dunk, layup, and shot animations, Midway recorded footage of several amateur basketball players and digitized the footage into animations. These players were available as secret characters in the game. The game was full of Easter eggs like that. Through button combinations on the console ports, players could unlock characters such as President Bill Clinton, the First Lady at the time Hillary Clinton, Hugo, the Charlotte Hornets mascot, and more. On the arcade version, there is a hidden tank game where the player drives a tank and shoots enemies for a minute. Despite being developed in Chicago, the game had a bias against the Bulls. The developer was a Detroit Pistons fan. When playing the Bulls against the Detroit Pistons, the Bulls were programmed to miss last-second shots. Michael Jordan was missing from the game, but because the game had nearly every other team and popular player, that did not detract people from playing it. MJ refused to be used in any video games for most of his career. The actual gameplay was revolutionary at the time. It was one of the few basketball games with NBA licensed teams and players, which helped the game become so popular. But the gameplay is what kept people playing. There were no fouls, no free throws, and the only violations were goaltending and 24-second violations. Just like in Arch Rivals, players could shove, elbow, and legally foul opponents to steal the ball or mess up a shot. If a player made 3 consecutive shots in a row, he became on fire and had unlimited turbo and a much higher chance of making shots. Players stayed on fire until the other team scored or the on-fire player missed 4 consecutive shots. Consecutive dunks would shatter the backboard. NBA Jam was a major success and became a worldwide hit. The game was ported to consoles, published by Acclaim, and the next game in the series, NBA Jam Tournament Edition, was released in arcades and later ported to consoles as well. The sequel had updated rosters, more Easter eggs, new music, and a third player who could sub in for one of the 2 starters. Shortly after, Acclaim won the license to the NBA Jam name and released NBA Jam Extreme, which was not developed by Midway. It was a 3D version of NBA Jam released in arcades and on the PlayStation, Nintendo 64, and Sega Saturn. The game had a new announcer, Marv Albert, and added an Extreme button, which was a super version of the Turbo button. The game wasn't as well received as previous NBA Jam titles, due to camera issues, slower pacing, and loading times. While the graphics were prettier, it just wasn't the same. Midway developed their own successor to NBA Jam, but because they lost the NBA Jam license, the game was titled NBA Hang Time, which is what most people consider to be the next true installment in the NBA Jam series. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, Hawthorne. For those of you that don't know, instead of using the time was basically NBA Hang Time was basically NBA Jam with a create player feature. Instead of using the fancy graphics of NBA Jam Extreme, Hang Time used the same 2D graphics that people knew and loved, but with improvements. The game also added spin moves, alley-oops, and double slam dunks, which could trigger a new team fire effect where both players were on fire at the same time. Pretty much everyone considered this game to be the true successor to NBA Jam Tournament Edition. NBA Showtime, NBA on NBC, was basically
the motherfucking... Oh, man. Hold on, man. Y'all don't know about this one. NBA Showtime was that shit. I don't care what y'all say, man. This was that shit right here. NBA Showtime. Oh my god. If you just had to be there to understand, this game was that shit, bruh.
Another NBA Jam title and a sequel to NBA Hang Time. It was developed by Midway and still had the NBA Jam formula of 2-on-2 basketball, and brought back the original announcer Tim Kitzrow. The graphics got a major overhaul, now in 3D on the Nintendo 64 and Sega Dreamcast. This was the last Midway developed 2-on-2 NBA game, and what many consider to be the last true NBA Jam title. NBA Hoops was the last Midway developed game similar to NBA Jam.
Another motherfucking banger right here. Hey, I got it on the Xbox. We might do a season mode. We might just do a season mode. Just a little FYI, just a little heads up. I'm letting y'all know right now. We might do a season mode on there.
But it was a 3-on-3 rather than 2-on-2. NBA Ballers released a few years later, but was more of a street game like NBA Street. Gameplay featured one-on-one action.
Why you didn't talk about the NBA Jam that came out 2004? And why is NBA Ballers in this? NBA Ballers is its own entity.
And was a much different game than NBA Jam. The NBA Ballers series had a few more releases on the 6th generation of consoles, and were Midway's final NBA games. Acclaim had continued making games with the NBA Jam name, however, but they simply weren't well received by critics or fans. NBA Jam 99 had 5-on-5 basketball, which was not what NBA Jam was originally about.
Ew.
The game had a brand new commentator, and it was basically a different game in every way except for the name. Midway got the NBA Jam license back after the 2003 release of NBA Jam, which was the closest Acclaim got to recapturing the magic of the original game.
Hey, and this was a good one right here too. I ain't gonna lie to you. This is good. Y'all saw me play this when I was sick. When I was sick, I did preview this just to let y'all know I do got this in my arsenal. But we might do a season mode with this too. We might just do a season mode with this one too. But that's gonna be down the line though. But for right now, we're gonna stick with what we got for right now.
This version of the game saw the return of Kits Row, but it was a 3-on-3 game, still not the classic 2-on-2 formula. This was, however, the last NBA Jam game released for nearly a decade. Midway never released another NBA Jam game after regaining the license and fell into financial trouble. After filing for liquidation, EA bought the rights to NBA Jam, NFL Blitz, and a few other assets of Midway's in 2010, and Midway ceased to exist. The company behind the incredible NBA Jam arcade game, NBA Hangtime, and NBA Showtime was no more. Now, EA was the only company with the power to release an NBA Jam game, and they did, in 2010. The game was simply titled NBA Jam, just like the 2003 release, but was an authentic NBA Jam experience.
Yeah.
It brought back 2-on-2 basketball. It was basically a remastered version of the original.
And it was arguably I gotta get EA they props. I gotta get EA they props. EA, I gotta give you your props on this one. Y'all came back with a banger on this one. I ain't gonna hold you. I gave y'all a lot of shit, but y'all came through on this one. Y'all came through on this one, EA. Y'all put y'all foot in this one. This was a really good a really good nod to the OG fans of basketball games.
Game with new rosters. The game was actually EA's only NBA game that year, as NBA Elite 11 got cancelled. This was the NBA Jam game I played the most growing up on the Wii. The Wii version used motion controls that made the gameplay super exciting. At my brother's bachelor party, he attempted to do a very forceful dunk and slam the Wii remote into his friend's head. That kind of stuff just doesn't happen in other games. Tim Kitzrow returned with his classic lines and some new ones, and the graphics were great, using the higher resolution of newer consoles to use actual photographs for player faces. A big reason this game felt so authentic was because Mark Turmel, the creator of NBA Jam, served as a consultant. This game is what many would call the closest to a true NBA Jam title since NBA Showtime, NBA on NBC. I've seen some people say online that EA ruined NBA Jam, and I don't see that to be the case, as this was a great game and way more authentic to the first NBA Jam than any Acclaim developed game that came since.
Yeah.
After an enhanced version of the game titled NBA Jam on Fire Edition dropped in 2011 for the Xbox 360 and PS3, however, no NBA Jam game's been made since. So if the argument that EA killed NBA Jam refers to the fact that they own the license, yet haven't released a game in a decade, then yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
NBA Jam should come back. EA's NBA Live series has run itself into the ground, and even though NBA Live 18 and 19 were decent games, sales were very poor due to the popularity of NBA 2K. A new NBA Jam game released by EA could be terrible and filled with microtransactions,
Pretty much.
but there's also a chance it could be something special as well. With NBA Live not drawing in a lot of new customers, and the game delayed indefinitely, why not build some hype up by bringing back NBA Jam? a game pretty much everyone loved. It would be fantastic to play with updated rosters and historic players on today's hardware. The closest we have gotten to a modern-day NBA Jam is NBA Playgrounds, a game originally developed by Saber Interactive and published by Mad Dog Studios. While the game featured 2-on-2 gameplay similar to NBA Jam, it was basically a version of Ultimate Team or My Team, where you had to unlock better players by grinding or paying real money. 2K bought the rights to the game and published the sequel in 2018, but it was more of the same. Despite the fact that NBA Jam is no longer an active franchise, you can see its impact all over gaming. The success of the first NBA Jam arcade title started the trend of creating arcade sports video games. NBA Jam proved that sports games didn't need to be realistic to be fun. NFL Street, NFL Blitz, NBA Street, NBA Ballers, NHL Hits, NBA Playgrounds, and many other arcade titles probably never would have been developed if not for the creation and success of NBA Jam. And while the series may be gone, we still say he's on fire when someone starts draining shots, and many people still play these older NBA Jam titles. You can emulate them on your computer, pull out your old consoles, or even buy your own NBA Jam arcade cabinet. Hopefully soon, the legend of NBA Jam will continue on with a new entry to the series. Until then, there's no reason why we can't go back and play the older versions of the game. They hold up quite well and are still a blast to play with friends. Thanks for watching.
Yep. Yeah, NBA Jam is definitely definitely a Hall of Fame franchise. I would definitely say it's a Hall of Fame franchise in the basketball or in the sports realm of things. Yeah, it's up there. It's definitely in the Hall of Fame. You know, like well, how Madden kinda is because it's been around for so long. NBA Jam definitely is in that same realm with the Madden and the FIFA. You know, yeah, it's definitely deserved its Hall of Fame, and it definitely deserves its flowers for what it brought to the video gaming basketball world. So yeah, that's just gonna about do it for this one. I will see you all in the next video. Tell me what y'all think down in the comment section below. I'll get back to you till then. Peace out.